Hey guys, welcome back to Magician Reacts. This is Devin Stewart, magician here, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Shawn Farquhar, two-time World Magic Champion, two-time Penn and Teller Fool Us. Great to see you, man. Thanks for coming on. What have you been up to? I mean, this world has gone crazy. You used to be one of the busiest magicians I've ever known, and the world's gone crazy. I mean, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I used to do like 285 days a year on the road. I traveled, I don't know, 100,000 air miles a year without any problem. And all of a sudden, the whole world just stopped. In fact, on the day it stopped, I was flying home from Las Vegas, having filmed the Penn and Teller show, Fool Us. I flew home, the border closed. My wife drove me across the border home, and we just sat in our house. But I've got like almost an acre of land. And so I worked on some magic projects to start with, started writing a book, started developing some new magic tricks. And I'd opened my own little theater in Canada called Hidden Wonders in Chinatown. And so I had to close it up and find a way to get people to help me to move it. So I had to hire a company because I didn't want to put my friends in trouble or anything like that, risk them. So that was exciting. Got the theater all packed up, put away into my garages out in the back, and then killed time, but I didn't want to kill time because, I like to stay busy. So I focused on new magic tricks, new ideas. And then my wife suggested we do yard work. I've learned so many things about myself. Like, I don't like yard work. That's what I learned. But I did it. Yeah, we cut down blackberry bushes. We pulled out trees. It was lots of fun. Reclaimed land. And then Lori found a building in New Westminster, which is about halfway between where our old theater was and where we live. It's a wonderful old historic city. It's the first capital of British Columbia. And we leased a building in July, and I decided I would take a couple of months to renovate the building and make a theater. And so we basically, during a pandemic, I leased a building and signed a contract for it.
Oh, it's very you. You're out of your mind. So that doesn't surprise.
When everybody else is recoiling, I stepped up. Yeah, but I found this great little building, and then I had a purpose. Instead of yard work, I was painting and hammering and screwing, and Lori was sewing curtains, and we were hanging lights and designing secret passages and doorways. And lo and behold, in the middle of August, the numbers in Canada, especially in British Columbia, were going down, and they started allowing us to open things up. And so we actually opened up for on August 28th. The building will hold 60 people. We want to hold 30 people. Under COVID rules, we're hosting 12 to 14 people. I'm doing shows for 12 to, it's like being back to birthday parties. It's really exciting. But it's an elegant birthday party. No, I'm doing shows on Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday matinees, and sometimes Sunday evenings, depending on how I feel about it. We opened on August 28th, sold out. It sold through September almost instantly. I opened up the October tickets in the middle of September. They sold out today. And now I'm almost sold out for November. And people are emailing asking for tickets for December. It's not hard to sell out. It's only 12 seats.
Right. But I mean, there's been, I've done shows where myself where it's like, I perform in a pub, and even people who buy tickets to the show, and you still end up with like 6 people in the crowd, in some of the early days. So, it happens, but no,
I'm terrified that no one would buy tickets, and I would be doing shows for like 4 people going, yeah, we can seat 12. But although we had one show nobody came to, we sold out. When we looked at the record, when nobody came, we went, well, maybe we contact some of the people, and we realized it was all one family. They bought out the entire show, but one of them ended up testing positive for COVID. So they had
to man. Oh,
so my audience disappeared. It was very cool.
So let me ask this: Have you? And I've got some questions I'm going to get to, but on the topic of the insanity of the world, a lot of magicians I've talked to, they've switched to doing the Zoom shows. Is that something you've really embraced and gone into, or?
In day number 10, I did a Facebook Live video show open for free. I said I'd leave it up for 24 hours. 6,500 people watched it. I was like, wow, there's a goal here. There's something like real. And I didn't understand it. I didn't even know what Zoom was. I just knew Facebook had a live component, clicked it. So then I still didn't know about Zoom. I went to Instagram. I did an Instagram live, but instead of doing magic, I called it what's in Shawn's garage today.
I saw a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Hundreds of people tuned in to watch them. And
yeah, I was one of them.
Points that said 1,100 people watched this episode. I'm like, okay, people actually will tune in. So then I discovered Zoom, and I started things called Sessions with Shawn. And I didn't charge a lot. It was like $25. And I limited it 25 people. And I sold, I think, 8 of them in 3 days. They sold out. And then a super fan contacted me and said, hey, have you thought about doing Zoom shows? I said, I don't know what that would look like. He said, I'll help you put the first one together. I'll sell the tickets to my friend's family, blah, 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 blah. How much do you want a ticket? What do you need to get? And I worked it out, and we did it. And I was so happy to actually talk to humans, even if it was virtually.
Right.
And I sat down for the next 2 weeks, and I worked out magic that would be just perfect for this platform, because it's different than any of the other platform being live or anything. And you might as well use stuff to your advantage. So all of a sudden I was doing Zoom shows, and they were all being referred. I didn't put a single ad up. I didn't have to. They just, people contacted me, said, hi, we've got a company. It's 40 people, blah, 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 blah. I have one coming up, still have one coming up. It's 986 people. 986 people. It's 1,000, but they have a technical crew that's going to be working on their end. And I have a crew, because I need a crew to manage that many people. But I'm going to do a huge Zoom show, which I'm kind of stoked about. And I have another one coming up, a fundraiser for the Burnaby Hospital, where my wife was born, and where Michael J. Fox was born. And it'll all be filmed in a broadcast. I built my own little broadcast studio with LED lights and cool sets and everything. And I made the show so that it was interactive, where I was had a bookcase behind me so the audience could see it. And on the bookcase were weird items so they could pick what they wanted. And that way, none of the shows were the same. Yeah, It was a lot of fun.
Wow. And I've seen a few people do magic shows, and admittedly, I've seen some that are really great, and I've seen some where, and I admittedly, I've struggled personally with the Zoom aspect, because for years, I've been focused on doing illusions, or I've been doing direct close-up magic. And so I've had a hard time, myself putting together a show that works from the material that I have. And I'm working on new material to do that. I know a lot of the fringe shows that are happening in the States. Magician Jordan Rooks out in Vegas. He's doing fringe shows like crazy, and he's doing them over Zoom, just selling tickets. And I was at one of them a week ago, and it was a great show. And it really, I'm really impressed, because what's the saying? Necessity creates.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Necessity is the mother of invention. So, here we are, the world's gone crazy and come to a complete standstill. Well, performers still got to eat, and it's a tough world. Yeah.
I got a theater.
Yeah. You bought a theater. Leased a theater in a pandemic. You are crazy. So
having a show that's going to be hybrid, Zoom and live. I'm going to try. I don't think it's been done before, where it will be interactive, me with an audience of 12, maybe 14, and maybe 25 to 50 people that will be through Zoom. But I want the magic, not for them just to watch a show. I know there's probably lots that have just turned the camera on and you can watch the show. I want them to be an active part of it. I'm going to have audience members pick things, and their audience member means a Zoom person. So there'll be multiple Zoom. Going to have a big screen on the side so that I can see the audience. And I'm going to have an iPad that I'm going to put on my mannequin of my suit, so that I'll have a head so I can talk to a person like right next to me.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's amazing. Oh man, you gotta let me know when you're doing that, because I want tickets. I want to see this. I want to be one of those guys.
I think the date we're looking at is October. I think it's 18th. Don't quote me, but it's sometime in the later part of October.
Okay. Absolutely.
Just before Halloween, because we're sold out. We're probably going to do it on a Thursday night, so we can sell one more set of tickets and let the people know that they're going to be broadcast at the same time.
You gotta let me know for sure the date. Send me a text. Let me know the date because I'm there. I'm in on that all the way. So I've got a couple questions I wanna ask. Kind of generic questions, but I think people who, I met you at Tri-C. I think it was 2014. You were lecturing at
Right.
Tri-C, and I remember. I'll tell you this. 'Cause I don't think I've ever told you this. I was terrified to meet you. There are a lot of magicians I've come to respect over the years, and some that, they say never meet your hero, never meet your idol. And some guys are great, and some guys you meet them, and and that's just across the board. And so it was like, well, okay, I'm about to be at this convention, and for those of you who are watching this who don't know what Tri-C is, it's the Carolina Close-Up Convention in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, and it happens almost every year. They had to cancel it this year, but it happens every year, and it's 120, 130 magicians in a conference room inside of a hotel. And they get a couple magicians to lecture, and then they try to get a big name every year. And that year you were the biggest name on the bill. And it's a very intimate setting because it's not like you're on a stage with guard. It was personable. We could talk to you. You were within arm's reach.
Bubble was 3 feet away from me, and he
Yeah.
was the back row.
So I was like, okay, I knew who you were, and at the time that we were going there, you were already a two-time Magic World Champion. You'd already fooled Penn and Teller once. You hadn't done it the second time yet. That hadn't happened yet. And so I was like, there's no way I'm even going to get 5 minutes to talk to this guy. And I was extremely intimidated by the scenario. And so you came across as the coolest, most personable guy I've ever met. And we, in the parking lot of the hotel, was that Chinese restaurant. And a lot of us for dinner that first night, we all just went there, right? Well, I went to the buffet and I sat with my back to the buffet. You sat in the chair opposite me and I felt my heart stop. And I was like, well, there's Shawn. Here's this guy whose videos I've been watching literally for years. I had seen every video you'd put out from when you were on the Norwegian Star, a lot of those videos. And I was intimidated, and then I realized you were one of the coolest guys I'd ever get a chance to talk to, and I want to thank you for your friendship over the years. But you've talked about this before. Very quickly, what would you say was the catalyst for you getting started in magic?
My father. I tell everybody, my mom says when I was born, the doctor slapped me and I said, pick a card. I've been doing it all my life. That's because my father loved magic, my grandfather, my great grandfather. And I was surrounded with people that loved the arts and loved entertainment. And my dad taught me early, sleights, and gave me books and encouraged it, where my friends were, getting batted in the back of the head, going, put down that stupid book on magic and pick up, the Remington, or pick up the baseball bat, or go
Right.
fishing. I was like, I'll go fishing, but can I bring my deck of cards? And my dad was like, yeah, that works for me. And yeah, he really, really just encouraged it. And he was a good magician. If you win the Victoria's Magician of the Year, it's called the Farquhar Award. It's not named after me. It's named after my dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he really encouraged other young magicians and was really good. So when I was young, I grew up in, podunk little places like Summerside PEI, which had, well, the water tower said it had a population of 8,000. It wasn't, though. But the population never changed, because every time a woman had a baby, a guy left town. It evened out. Thank you, Billy McComb. Yeah. My dad was basically my influence. He taught me the magic. He bought me magic kits. I remember Christmas Eve sneaking downstairs and opening a present under the tree because it looked like a deck of cards, knowing that it was going to be, the Marshall Brodeen TV magic cards. I opened them, checked it out, sealed it all back up, and put it under the tree for the morning.
That's awesome. Wow. That's great. And so I want to ask, and this is a very broad question, so I'm going to try to narrow it. What would you say, COVID aside, because I mean, I would say you're established at this point in your life. I mean, you've been doing this, you've found your niche, you're doing really well. But what would you say was a defining moment for you where you had a real struggle with your career?
Oh, I've had lots of struggles with my career. I was a children's birthday party magician, and then I had the opportunity to do shopping centers. And it was a struggle to let go of that security of all those kids' parties to become the big guy in the mall circuit. And then I had a big struggle when I became the cruise magician. All of a sudden, I traveled the world as a cruise magician, came home to Vancouver, and everybody said, "Who are you?" Because they hadn't seen me for a
Right.
decade. I was making a living performing on these massive stages with, 1,250 people audiences. I came home and the bookers in locally were going, "Who are you?" In 88, I lost my home to a fire. 3 years prior, I lost my home to a flood. 3 years after the fire, I had a car drive through my living room. I've had tons of struggles. If it wasn't for the struggle, I wouldn't have a career.
Yeah.
When COVID came along, I was like, bring it on. Let's
Yeah. At this point, at least I still got a house without a car in it. I mean, oh man. And they always say, there's something to be said for paying your dues, and you kind of, and I think you hit it, when you hit hard times, whatever those are, you become calloused and numb to a certain degree, and you always kind of go, well, none of that compares to this. And so when the next struggle hits, you're like, you know what, I had my house burned down. I've had a guy go through my living room in a car. You think about it could be worse. COVID isn't the end of the world. We're really fortunate that we live in a day and age with technology that connects us. I mean, you're in Canada, I'm in Florida. We almost couldn't be further apart in North America than we are right now.
Side of the world from each other. Absolutely.
And we're talking in real time. I mean, there's no reason that we can't be out there still changing lives and bringing entertainment to people. And I think if anything, people need it right now.
I think I'm affecting more people now than I ever did, because when I traveled, there was always 2 to 3 days to get to a place, and then
Sure.
2 to 3 days to get home from the place. And I was tired when I got there or jet lagged in the middle of the night. Now I'm doing lectures in Norway, and the commute is 6 minutes from my bedroom down to my studio. I'm doing lectures in Mexico. I had a young magician write me that, he was really struggling with stuff. And I said, hey, if you got 5 minutes, let's just Facebook chat. We talked for like 2 hours. And at the end of it, he said, I can't believe you gave me the time. I said, well, I believe in you. And he's like, you're the only person. I said, you only need one person to believe in you to make it. I've had my wife all my life believe in me, and that's all I need is one person. And if I can be your person, I'll be it. And he's like, wow. And I've been watching, the progress has been great. And I think that you can really be positive, even in the worst situation. When my home burned down, I remember the cameras, they stuck the microphones in my face going, you've lost everything. What are you going to do now? And I remember looking at the camera and saying, it's going to be the easiest move I've ever had.
There's ways you can handle it, It's all about attitude.
I have friends who've pivoted and not doing magic at the moment and trying other things and that they're great at. And I'm like, kudos to them. I don't have a lot of other skills to fall back on. I know magic. And so I have to find other ways to do it. But it's fun.
And I have friends that work in various professions. A friend of mine's a therapist, and he talked about how he's actually able to help more people now because of technology like Zoom. There's less time. There's not transit time. People coming to his office, in and out of his office. There's scheduling. He can schedule more people into his day that he can try to help and
100%.
benefit, especially at a time when people need are relying on that. And he's like, I help more people now than I ever have. And I think there's 2 ways you can look at this. You can look at it as, oh no, the world's ending, or now I suddenly I look at all the extra time I have to do things. And so I think it's all attitude. It's all attitude.
I think it's all about facing it in a positive way, not in a ridiculous, like blinded way, like, oh, it's not there. No, you have to know it's there, find a way to work around it, make what works happen.
Yep.
Be socially conscious. One of the greatest quotes, I just got a TripAdvisor person wrote yesterday, and they said, since going outside, I've never felt safer than when I was at Hidden Wonders. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. I created an environment that was safe, conducive, and entertaining. I had a person email me this morning say, hey, our social bubble's 30. Can you accommodate that? And I said, no social bubbles should be 30. I said, trim it down to 12, 14 at the most, and I'll book you the room. The guy came back, oh, we got 30. I said, like I said, this isn't about money at the moment. This is about safety, concern, and me being happy. Because when you leave, I have to perform for another group. and I don't want
Yeah.
to be performing for the next group. And I don't want anybody, the last thing I want to hear is the news saying, hey, if you went to Hidden Wonders in New Westminster, please report to the local med. I don't want that.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, you can find ways to be positive, uh, regret nothing, and just move forward.
So, you've mentioned, several stages that you took throughout your career, birthday party, and then on the mall circuit, the cruise circuit, and now you're doing Hidden Wonders. I think I know the answer to this just from us talking, but I'm interested to hear the why. You shifted in different formats, from close up to stage to large illusion. I mean, I've seen video of you doing like the origami illusion on cruise ships and things like that. And then you're now back to a parlor setting of, if you could just choose, I think you're going to say Hidden Wonders and what you're doing there. But I mean, what is your favorite format and why, I guess?
I've never been happier. I think each step as I grew was my happy place, but I've never been happier than I am now. When I started and I was just doing kids' birthday parties, it's because that's what I knew. And then when I went to malls, I really loved the idea of trying to drag people out of stores to the center court and then let them go. It became a challenge to me, like a giant busker.
Yeah.
And when I got to cruise ships, I learned that I wanted to be value because it was free. So I didn't just want to be we're going to see the show. I wanted the people to go, oh my God, we have to get to the show, finish your dinner. We have to be there. Everybody's talking about it. So that became the next thing. As I did trade shows and comedy clubs, each of those things, they were good times and I was happy when I did them. But when I opened my own theater, it was because I'd reached a point I was doing audiences of 3,000, 6,000 people, and I'd lost a connection. And I was traveling a lot. And I was cool when I was on the ships with my wife and my daughter. We were always together. I didn't miss a day of my daughter's life until she decided to go to a real school and, get a formal education. And then I paced out going, I can miss this, but I can't miss that. And I built my schedule around. And then I just reached a point I didn't want to miss stuff. And I wanted to connect with my wife more. And I love the idea of creating something where the audience was small. Hidden Wonders, when it first opened, was just for 30 people. And my goal was not more than 30 people. I might go to 52 someday if I've got $1 million and build an even bigger place, but it would have to be a very special room. And the reason I do 52 is so I could do card tricks with the people where everybody was a card. But 30 is perfect because the back row is 13 feet away from me. Nobody is more than 10 feet from me. The front row is 4 feet from my nose.
I've seen pictures. Yeah, it's very intimate for a parlor setting. I love your setup. It's
perfect. It's like walking into my little heaven.
Wow.
I made the show a choose your own adventure. The audience picks what they're going to see. So I don't have a set list, which is great, which means there's no two shows the same. So I never get bored. It's just me and them jamming for an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. So how does that work? So do you just have your effects? Do you have like a whiteboard behind you and you just say, pick a number between 1 and 10 and then?
No. So I have a cabinet of curiosities, a big, beautiful wooden oak cabinet filled with shelves. And on the shelves are odd little things. And they can pick shelves. On each of those shelves are multiple items. When they pick a shelf, I'll tell them what's on that shelf and they pick one. Then the rest of the ones are dead on that shelf so that they can pick. But I put on the shelves by theme. So one shelf is scary stuff. One stuff is mentalism. One is very funny. One is very interactive. So it will allow the show to be flow and ebb. And then not just the cabinet. I also have a box underneath of my table, which I call the box of wonder. It's filled with some stuff that I've been doing for decades. And some of the stuff is brand new that I've never done before. And so I've rehearsed it hundreds of times, but it may be seeing the light of the day for the first time. And if it rocks, it goes into the cabinet. And if it doesn't rock, nobody ever sees it again. So, and then I have paper bags that have been hermetically sealed weeks in advance that have been all sanitized that have other items in them. So the audience can pick a paper bag and I give it to them with tongs and they tear it open and they handle the item. And then afterwards it gets sanitized again, thrown in a bag and waits. And so no two shows are the same.
Wow.
They pick the items. I only know the opening and the closing because you got to have a strong opening, you got to have a strong closing, but everything in between. And it makes it exciting because sometimes they'll pick like a heavy hitter, a heavy hitter, a heavy hitter off the top. And you can't have heavy hitters
Right.
all in a row, or it's going to. So I have to actually lessen the effect of the heavy hitters. And then they pick something weak at the end, and I have to find a way to make it stronger. And so it's taught me how to produce my show and make even the weakest trick in my show seem like a closer.
That's brilliant, Shawn.
It's fun.
That is, I love that. I'm making notes. I swear I'm not going to steal that idea.
Choose your own adventure.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's amazing.
Going to an escape room. They arrive and they're given something, and they have to find their way into the showroom because it's a speakeasy. And so some of them taking 20 minutes to find their way into the showroom. And I love my hosts, Billy Schway and Alexander, because they love that challenge of watching them. And when they do the safety announcements that they say, we have, one exit. Uniquely enough, it's also our entrance. And it's easier to find on this side than it is the other side.
That is awesome. Oh man. When this all lifts up, I'm road tripping. I gotta see this.
Come and play.
I gotta see this.
Cool.
All right. So
show multiple times and it's never the same.
That's it. That right there makes what you're doing, and this is my opinion only, and maybe I'm a little biased. That makes what you're doing better than going and seeing a stage show in Vegas. There's a lot of great guys in Vegas. And admittedly, my show has been identical. Well, previous to now, for years, I had the same effects, same order, because it worked. And that was the mindset of it worked, it played, I'm going to keep doing it. Why reinvent the wheel? But people who see the same show, and I learned something similar. I do a lot of festivals now, and performing with like a circus group. So it's like several shows over like 8 shows in a weekend. I can't do the same thing every show because the odds are pretty good. They're only spaced a couple hours out. The odds are pretty good. Somebody may see me the same time. I switched it up by adding in like human body stunts, like walking on broken glass, fire eating, etc. That was how I broke up that vibe. But even so, if you did see the magic show, you saw the same magic show twice. So I love what you're doing. And I think that makes what you're doing have a replay value that is being missed by so many magicians. So if you're watching this, take note. Change it up. I know I am.
Change it up.
All right. So you mentioned your dad as being your main influence, and I got this question that I want to get to some magic. Is there another mentor that you've had? You've mentioned your dad and your grandfather, but is there somebody else over the years that you would say was a great mentor for you?
I've had a number, and they're all people you wouldn't know. Carl and Lottie Hemian were magicians who did a bird act called Fantasy in Blue. When I formed the first SAM club on the west coast of Canada, I named it the Carl Hemian Assembly after Carl. He was really great to me in the beginning. Tony Eng, who was a Canadian magician, we called him the Canadian ambassador of magic. He taught me sleight of hand and personality on how to be more gregarious. John M. Gilliland, he wrote more than 200 articles for Good Life magazine. And when he passed, he willed his entire book collection to me, close to 10,000 volumes. So wow. I have the most massive library because of him. And he was just the best at researching. I'd say, hey, I want to learn the watch steel. And a week later, I would come, and he had to have one of those duotang folders, at least an inch, sometimes 2 inches thick, with all the photocopy pages from all his books, because he had an eidetic memory. So he knew exactly what page, which book, when it was published, and he just photocopied them all. I pull out the duotang folders that I still have and think, that must have cost him $80 in photocopying to give me. And he never asked for a dime. Yeah, so many. Leon Mandrake, Jerry Andrus. Jerry was just a soul to me, so nice. And Leon Mandrake, the magician from the comic books. I have so many mentors. The list is huge, and they all have significant roles in my life.
And I want to share with you before we get into some magic. I want to share with you because after meeting you at Tri-C, I consider you to be one of mine. And I want to share with people who are watching this something that I came to you, and I remember I was walking out of the dealer room. I remember this very, very vividly. We were walking out of the dealer room, and I asked you, how do you price your shows? And the only thing you said to me was, only you can put a value on you. And that changed so much for me. And I was just rolling into the corporate world of Magic with that. And I realized I I was relying on them to give me a value and not what I felt my show was valued for. And that was a huge piece of advice. And then when we were talking at the convention, you were like, oh, we were talking about dove magic, because I do doves, and you were saying you had a dove routine years ago, and you were like, yeah, I've got some dove ideas, I'll have to run by you sometime. 2 years go by. I get a random message from you on Facebook that says, hey, I've got some dove magic if you've got a free moment. The thing is, the time differential, you sent that to me at midnight your time. It was 3 a.m. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. So I went in the other room and I jumped on Skype on my phone, and we were on Skype for a while. And I still remember those ideas.
That's why it was dark when we talked. It was very dark when you were talking. It's like, I got to be a little quiet. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So at that time, I had my oldest daughter was less than a year old at the time, and so she was sleeping, so I was trying to be quiet. But yeah, it was like 3 a.m. my time. But I was like, you know what? If Shawn messages me and says, hey, I've got some ideas, I'm gonna turn my phone on and we're gonna talk. And I still have those ideas, and they are still something I'm playing with. I haven't been in a situation where because and I'm not going to go into details because they're mine now. You've given them to me. I'm not telling anybody what they are, but there's situations that require the birds to be free flight, and I haven't been in a situation performing with them where I can do that, and they've lost their training. So they are still back here. I still have them very, very clearly what they are, and designed, but I'm hoping one day I can get the birds back, because birds forget and they lose their training if you don't work with them.
I used to train my flybacks in my house, which was funny because the birds were in the front vestibule. Feeding was in the back by the kitchen. So they go through the front vestibule, through the living room, through the dining room, through the kitchen to the back. And so at nighttime, I would ask my friends if they were over, say, can you just sit down on the couch for a moment? My wife would open up the bird cage and I would snap my fingers and the birds would fly through the house and land on my hand. And people would, really? I said, yep. And when they're done, I'd let them fly and they fly right back again. And people were like, those are like yo-yo birds. I said, yep, that's what they are.
Yep. Okay. Well, all right. So part of the whole thing of this channel is reaction, and that's as much reacting to the stories and all of that as it is. But I want to see some magic, and I want to see. It is, even if you've showed it to me before, which I doubt I've seen it. I haven't seen you live in years. So what do you got for me, Shawn?
I'm going to show you two things. One is just a goofy thing off the top, because we talked about, Zoom shows and everything. And I just think this is cool. Have you noticed that when I hold a playing card here in the light, when the light hits it directly, it looks like a regular playing card, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if I put it on this side, doesn't it look dark? It's because of the angle, right? Over here, it looks like a two of hearts. And over here, it looks black. Isn't that weird? It's all a light thing. It's all in the refraction. I mean, if I put it over here and it was red, that would be wrong. And if I put it over there and it was black, that'd be backwards, right? I mean, it looks black, but it's not. It's red, right? Yeah, that's red. It was black, and then it's red. Isn't that weird? So
I love it. That is great.
People begin to think, oh, he's really showing us how, the light on Zoom. And it's like, no, it's got nothing to do with that. I'm lying to you.
Oh, man.
I thought I'd do something you'd never seen before.
Yes, please. I mean, the stuff I've seen is great, but what you got?
One of my most popular things is a thing called Torn to Pieces. It's a torn and restored photograph. I've done it on Ellen and everything. Mm-hmm. But I want to show you something totally different. This is I haven't actually published it yet. It's going to come out in a magazine in the very near future. I just sent the write-up for it. It's based on an idea by J.C. Wagner. J.C. was a magician in San Diego who worked bars. And his whole thing was about leaving people with a souvenir. This would be the playing card. It can be signed, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to give it a tear. Does that look like I've really torn it? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
That looks like it's torn.
How about frayed edges?
Does that look like it's torn?
Yeah. A little.
I'll do it again this way. So we're giving it a good tear here. That looks torn. Would you agree?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pieces. Ton of pieces. If I were to take all these pieces and put them back together, would that be impressive?
Always.
It would, but I'm not going. I'm just going to keep one piece as a receipt. By having a piece, by having a piece as a receipt, then there's a way to see it's the same one when all these pieces restore. Watch. Yep, fits perfectly.
Love it.
Is that cool?
Love it.
So I've been giving it some thought. If I did it again, look, fold number 1, fold number, well, let's do it this way. Fold number 2. And I give it that tear again. That's honest and fair. Seriously, you can't get fairer than that. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Can't get fairer. I do it again. How many pieces is it now?
4.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do this really slowly for you. I'll do it with 1 piece here and the 3 pieces here. And I just wiggle like this until I have only 2 and 2. But these 2 are together. Can you see that? They're like stuck together. So now there's 2 here and 2 here. If I wiggle again, now it's 3. And look, that piece fits. Isn't that just bizarre? It's like 3-fly, but with cards.
Right.
I do it with the last one. Watch. I just go like that, and then the last one jumps across, and then it's all restored.
I love it. I love torn and restored effects, and that's clean. That I love that.
Torn and restored and 3-fly.
3-fly, yeah. Well, so one of the things that I've been doing on the channel, I watched. I've been watching like big magicians and some of the more famous effects, and one of the things I watched recently reviewed was Doug Henning doing metamorphosis, and you can't talk about Doug Henning without you can't talk about magic without Doug Henning. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, we can't talk about metamorphosis unless we talk about the Pendragons, and you see how they did it, and of course they set the speed record for it. And then I realized Copperfield did another effect in the 90s called Cocoon, which was a transposition where the transportation box was several feet in the air above him, and they switched places. The idea is that, when we do magic, some people get so stuck in the idea of this is the only way to do it, and it's not. And it's there's so many ways that something can be done, and so many ways that it can be made original. You combine 3-fly and torn and restored into an effect that is clean, plays anywhere. I mean, you can play that on Zoom. You can play that on stage. You can play that for 50 people in a room, and everybody would see clearly. You could do it for 100 people in the room if the seating's right, and it sees clearly. And that's what I love about torn and restored is it's pure, it's clean, and it uses normal objects.
When I do torn to pieces and I use a photograph, it really means something because I asked for a photograph from the client, and now it means something to them.
Yes.
And can really change the entire atmosphere in a room.
I've done your torn to pieces several times as a business opportunity. Like I'll go and I'll pull a picture off of their website of like a company outing or the CEO or something like that, and do it in the meeting. And it never fails. And it's a souvenir. It's a souvenir piece. People want that. Anytime you can do torn and restored, the very first thing anybody wants to do is take it from you to examine it. And when it's clean, you walk away and the miracle has happened and you've left them with something great. And it's pure.
In my Zoom Hidden Wonder shows, I always put a photograph up on the bookcase, and sooner or later, invariably someone will say, oh, can you do something with that photograph? And when I bring it up to the camera to show it, they realize it's a picture of somebody in the Zoom show. And then they go, oh my God, that's me. And I'm like, what? It's you? They bring up, I'm sorry, I just took this picture off of Facebook. Is that really you? And they're like, yes. Oh, cool. Which is really fun because now they feel like they're really part of it. And when the show's over, I mail them that mixed up photograph.
Oh, wow.
They get a souvenir, visceral, something to hold on to and have a great memory of.
Oh, wow. Well, Shawn, that's some great magic, and we're gonna have to talk off camera here about a few things. We gotta have a conversation for the non-magic people. Last question I want to ask. I mean, you've got Hidden Wonders going out. How can people find out about these shows that you're doing? What's you put I'm gonna put a link at the bottom of the video when
Yeah.
it airs, but what's the best way people can find out what's going on?
You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You can just look up Magic Champion with one C. I couldn't afford both. So it's MAGICHAMP. You pay by the letter, right? HAMPION. So Magic Champion. You can find my website. It's magicchampion.com. And I also have a website just for Hidden Wonders. It's hiddenwonders.show because I want to be clever. So it's .show. But you can follow me on all the social media. You can check out Hidden Wonders. You can go to the magicchampion.com. I'm all over that stuff, that face stuff, that tweet stuff. I got them all. That book face. I'm on book face.
You're on book face.
I'm on book face. Check it out. And I do that blue bird thing all the time. But I'm on all that stuff. And I always just pop on every once in a while randomly and just do stuff. I got a YouTube channel, and it's super getting exciting now. I've started adding new magic on it and new ideas, and it's just been fun. Really enjoying discovering YouTube and how I can use it to motivate and share my magic with people.
Wow. Well, Shawn, thank you for coming on and doing the interview. I really appreciate it. It's always great to hear from you. I'm going to put all the links to everything he talked about. I'm going to put it in the comments down below. Go check it out. Hit the subscribe button. I've got a lot of magicians that I'm going to be interviewing, guys just like Shawn. And you, if you're an amateur magician and you want your video reviewed, I would love to watch it. And there's two things I can promise you. Number one, nothing but positivity, because I believe positivity moves our craft forward, and you can't create in a negative space. Positivity is key, and I swear I'm not going to give any secrets away. That's not what this channel is about. So Shawn, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Guys, be sure to follow, check it out, and I'll be in touch. Thanks, guys.
Like. Tell them to smash like.
Smash the like. Hit the subscribe bell. Do it like everybody else. Get the big things that flash across the screen. Hit the bell. Ding. No, seriously. Thanks, guys. And Shawn, you take care of yourself. All right, buddy. Stay safe up there.
Thanks.